This story starts with a mystery from 15 years ago, 2008. A user going by the name Peter uploaded a video online. The footage showed something at 7,800 feet, about 2,300 meters below the ocean surface, something that looked like an alien squid. Its fins were rippling, its body faced the camera head on, and where you would normally expect tentacles bunched together, there were instead a few impossibly long and thin appendages. The camera tilted down. The appendages stretched into the darkness with no end in sight. Then the camera zoomed in and focused. And that is when things got strange. Those appendages had 90-degree bends in them, sharp angles, like elbows, like joints. Nothing like a soft-bodied animal, more like something mechanical. Was the footage real? How big was this thing? The internet exploded with theories, and scientists started investigating. Not long after, Shell Oil Company operating in the Gulf of Mexico released a statement. They confirmed the footage was real. It came from their Perdido drilling platform. On the morning of November 11th, 2007, while drilling at 2,500 meters, the platform camera accidentally captured this alien squid on film. Shell also released a full photograph. The appendages were 20 times the length of the body. Based on the light source and scale, the creature was estimated to be over 20 meters long. There was a pattern on its body that looked eerily like a human face, staring almost like it was watching us. So what exactly was this thing? My name is HENRI, and I spend way too much time digging into stories most people never hear about. Unsolved mysteries, deep sea creatures, things that make you question what you thought you knew. If you are the kind of person who falls down rabbit holes at 2 a.m., hit that subscribe button and stick around. To figure out this alien squid, scientists decided to start with a different mystery, one from 22 years earlier. The year 2000, a Japanese research team was surveying near the Mariana Trench. They dropped a deep sea fish trap down to 1,600 meters. At first, a few sharks showed up, about 2 meters long, feeding on the bait. Then suddenly, every single shark swam away. Something massive moved in. It kicked up a cloud of sediment that completely blocked the camera. And when the mud settled, the biologists finally saw its face. It was a shark, a massive one. The fish trap was about 3 meters on each side. Based on that scale, this shark was at least 18 meters long. Was it a Pacific sleeper shark? The largest known Pacific sleeper shark is only about 7 meters. Even their Arctic cousins, Greenland sharks, which can live 400 to 500 years, barely reach 8 meters. So why was there an 18-meter sleeper shark in the deep ocean? To explain this, scientists brought up a hypothesis called deep sea gigantism. They said that long before deep diving technology existed, humans had already found evidence of this phenomenon washed up on beaches. 7-meter oarfish, 4-meter spider crabs, amphipods the size of a human hand, jellyfish that could fill an entire swimming pool. All of these were deep sea species, way bigger than their shallow water relatives. But why does deep sea gigantism happen? Scientists offered 3 theories. Theory 1, temperature. To maintain body heat in freezing water, animals need to grow larger. A bigger body means a lower surface area to volume ratio and less heat loss. You can see this on land too. People and animals in cold regions tend to be larger. Those in tropical regions tend to be smaller. Theory 2, food scarcity. Scientists found that larger bodies store energy more efficiently. Here is an extreme example. A giant isopod pulled from the deep sea and placed in a Japanese aquarium refused to eat for 5 years straight. It survived with no food or water and only finally died after the 5th year. In the deep ocean, food might not show up for 3 years at a time. So animals that grow bigger store more energy and survive longer between meals. Theory 3, oxygen. Remember prehistoric giant insects, Jurassic dinosaurs? One explanation is that Earth's oxygen levels were much higher back then. In the deep ocean, the extreme water pressure forces more dissolved oxygen into the water. More oxygen, bigger bodies. So scientists took those 3 factors, low temperature, food scarcity, and high dissolved oxygen, and started searching. They quickly zeroed in on one place, Antarctica. They believed that the Antarctic seafloor would have even more giant species, proof that deep-sea gigantism was real. And they were right. In 2018, a research team filmed another giant shark. It casually snatched bait off a submarine, then glided over the top of it like a sea monster straight out of legend. So back to the alien squid. Could it also be a case of gigantism? Could a second specimen be found in Antarctic waters? In 2015, scientists locked onto a stretch of ocean near Antarctica. They searched for 2 full years. In 2017, they finally captured footage. But wait, was this really the same creature? The signature 90-degree bends from the 2007 footage were nowhere to be seen, and the size did not match either. Here is how scientists explained it. The 2017 specimen was a juvenile. The species is called the big fin squid. Humans still do not know much about them. Those long appendages might be used to sweep food off the sea floor, to lure prey, or to catch drifting plankton. As of now, humans have only encountered them 7 times total. First, 1988. The French vessel Nautilo filmed one off the coast of northern Brazil. Second, 1998. Japan's Shinkai captured one in the Indian Ocean south of Mauritius. Third and fourth, both in 2000, were in the Gulf of Mexico. Fifth, 2001 filmed from above. Sixth, the 2017 juvenile. And seventh, 2021, a stunningly clear piece of footage. Across all these sightings, except for the massive size, the creatures looked almost identical to the alien squid. And the massive size? That could be explained by deep-sea gigantism. So mystery solved? Not quite. Because deep-sea gigantism is still just a hypothesis. Scientists need more evidence, more giant species, to turn it into accepted theory. And that's why, in recent years, researchers have been heading to Antarctica. They believe there's more down there, way more. In 2017, a journalist tagged along on one of these Antarctic expeditions. They departed from Tierra del Fuego, the edge of the world. 3 days later, the Antarctic continent appeared on the horizon, a landmass buried under ice. The thickest sections, 4,800 meters of ice. The average, 2,400 meters. These ice sheets hold 70% of Earth's fresh water. If they all melted, global sea levels would rise 60 meters. And right now, all that weight is pressing down on the continent itself, pushing it lower. That's one reason why the ocean around Antarctica is so deep. Here, even the shallow continental shelf sits 500 meters below the surface. And beyond the shelf, the cliffs and abysses drop to 4,000 meters easily. The submersible reached the survey zone and began its descent. 15 meters down, the surface of an iceberg, strange and textured, one cavity after another, stretching all the way to the seafloor. The temperature gauge read -1.8 degrees Celsius. But the water wasn't frozen. The salt content was too high for ice to form, even below zero, 50 meters. The team spotted the bottom of the iceberg. No signs of life here. They kept going, 500 meters, -1.2 degrees Celsius. The submersible reached the Antarctic continental shelf floor. Normally at 500 meters, there's no sunlight. In most oceans, the seabed is just mud. But in Antarctica, a completely different picture. The seafloor was covered in life. Primitive creatures that looked like tangled seaweed. But they weren't plants. They were animals, filter feeders, surviving on nutrients in the water, orange soft corals, sea squirts, hermaphroditic organisms that eat their own brains after birth. Then, sea lilies. Their special ability? They actually swim through the water like a lily in motion to catch food. What you see clinging to the rocks? That's them in rest mode. Next, a pink creature appeared on the seafloor. Sea pigs. Their skill? Walking on dozens of tiny legs all at once, rhythmically picking up food from the seafloor and popping it into their mouths. Then came the legendary deep-sea tripod fish. A fish with 2 leg-like fins standing on the seabed. Some related species have 3 such legs, the longest ones reaching 3 times their body length. The legs are completely rigid when standing, but turn soft and flexible when swimming. Sound familiar? Just like the alien squid. Maybe tripod fish, lizardfish, and bigfin squid all share a similar deep-sea adaptation. And figuring out exactly what that adaptation is, that's what scientists are working on right now. Then there were the small transparent fish, also ice fish. Their bodies were see-through, which meant their blood was transparent too. Why? Because the dissolved oxygen in Antarctic water is so high, they don't need hemoglobin to carry oxygen through their bodies. They get enough without it, which meant the deep sea giants were probably close, 550 meters. Giant sea stars, about 40 centimeters across. Normal sea stars are around 10. Then the cliff edge appeared, the drop off into the deep abyss, and perched right at the edge a massive sponge, about 1 meter tall, most sponges fist-sized. As the submersible descended along the cliff, the scientists explained a fourth factor behind Antarctic gigantism. It is called island gigantism. Darwin noticed it during his voyages around the world. When species evolve in isolation on an island, they tend to grow larger over time. Komodo dragons, Galapagos giant tortoises, and the now extinct New Zealand moa are classic examples. And Antarctica's ocean? It has been an evolutionary island for over 100 million years. The Antarctic circumpolar current blocks warm water from the equator, keeping Antarctic waters freezing cold and completely isolated. Before Antarctica became this frozen island, it was a tropical rainforest. Dinosaurs once lived here. Scientists have found fossils of prehistoric tropical plants and giant dinosaurs beneath the ice. The descent continued, 650 meters. In the darkness, 4 long ribbons appeared. The camera followed them. They were attached to a jellyfish more than 10 meters long. This was Stygiomedusa gigantea, the giant phantom jellyfish. Humans have seen it fewer than 120 times in recorded history. Its silky limbs drifted through the water, forming a flexible net to capture plankton. 700 meters. What would come next? The scientists extended the mechanical arm, holding a Patagonian toothfish as bait. They suspected a giant squid might be nearby. The Kraken, the legendary sea monster of Norse mythology. For a long time, scientists thought it was pure fiction, but the deeper they looked, the more they realized the Kraken's origin might be real. It might be the giant squid. The earliest scientific record of a giant squid dates to 1877. A specimen reportedly 20 meters long washed ashore in Sao Paulo, Brazil, but it decomposed quickly. No specimen was preserved. Only a drawing survived. Outside of formal science, in 1873, an American pastor displayed a massive squid limb in his bathtub, and a photograph was taken. Then in 2004, a complete giant squid was found off the coast of Japan. Scientists confirmed this was a real thing. Other researchers later found giant squid remains inside sperm whale stomachs. These creatures could be 15 to 18 meters long. In 2006, an underwater photographer named Scott was studying Humboldt squid. He attached a camera to one of their fins and released it. The squid dove. At 350 meters, a massive shape appeared on camera. Tentacles and arms lunged toward the lens. Estimated body length over 10 meters. And here is the fascinating part. The giant squid seemed to be deliberately attacking the camera, as if it was trying to protect the injured Humboldt squid. It may have been acting out of curiosity or even empathy. This could be a highly intelligent species. Then, in 2012, a Japanese team finally captured clear footage of a live giant squid. Estimated length over 13 meters. At 630 meters deep, it was dancing through the water, 2 enormous eyes staring right at the camera. Absolutely stunning. Back on the submersible, the toothfish bait drifted in the darkness, but the batteries were dying. They had to head back. The lights went off. The submersible began to rise, and then the support sub radioed in, "Something is approaching you. Turn on your lights. Turn on your lights." Lights on. And there it was, a massive squid. Under the crossbeams of both submersibles, they got a clear look, but it was not a giant squid. It was a colossal squid. Close, but not the same species. The giant squid was probably moments away, but the batteries were dead. It was too dangerous to stay. The team reluctantly dropped the bait and surfaced. As they neared the surface, the lights came back on, and the water was filled with tiny shrimp everywhere. Antarctic krill, Earth's secret superpower. There are 400 trillion of them in Antarctic waters. Total weight at least 500 million tons. All 7.7 billion humans on Earth weigh about 350 million tons combined. From that perspective, krill might be the most successful species on the planet. As the submersible rose, the krill outside grew thicker, from raindrops to a downpour, from a downpour to a blizzard. Then one of the scientists pointed to a glowing speck. Krill are not just shrimp, they bioluminesce, a deep sea trait. They gather near the surface to spawn. A single krill can release over 10,000 eggs at once. Those eggs sink to 3,000 meters on the Antarctic seafloor, then slowly rise back up to spawn again. The scientists turned off the floodlights. In the darkness, the krill flickered with a pale blue glow. They feed the entire ecosystem, including the two largest animals on Earth, blue whales and humpback whales. Humpbacks use bubble net feeding. They blow bubbles in a spiral, forming a net that traps the krill in the center, then lunge upward with mouths wide open. Blue whales are even more creative. They farm the krill. They release nitrogen and phosphorus-rich waste into the water, fertilizing the plankton that krill eat, growing their food supply into a massive buffet. Then one enormous gulp, all of it. The submersible surfaced. No new deep-sea giants were found this time. But the scientists had one more Antarctic mystery to share. Beneath thousands of meters of Antarctic ice, there are over 400 subglacial lakes. The largest is Lake Vostok. It is located directly beneath Russia's Vostok Station. It is 250 kilometers long, 50 kilometers wide, and up to 1,200 meters deep. It even has tidal movements, and it could easily support an independent ecosystem. And this lake has been sealed under ice for at least 420,000 years. Remember the four factors behind deep-sea gigantism: low temperature, high dissolved oxygen, food scarcity, and evolutionary isolation. Lake Vostok checks every single box. Some scientists speculate that prehistoric creatures from 420,000 years ago could still be down there, or something that has been evolving independently for all that time. For 420,000 years, Lake Vostok has been buried under 4,000 meters of ice. The water temperature sits at -3 degrees Celsius, but it is not frozen. The pressure is extreme, and it lowers the freezing point of water. That same pressure forces an extraordinary amount of dissolved oxygen into the lake, at least 50 times higher than a normal lake, around 300 milligrams per liter. For context, Earth's atmosphere is 21% oxygen. That translates to roughly 310 milligrams per liter equivalent. In other words, if you fell into Lake Vostok, you would not drown. The water has enough dissolved oxygen to breathe, assuming your lungs were strong enough to move the liquid. Scientists also believe there may be a geothermal heat source at the bottom of the lake, like a deep-sea hydrothermal vent, providing energy to the entire ecosystem, the same way the sun powers life on the surface. So if something massive lived down there, what would it eat? Remember the krill and the blue whales? The sun feeds algae. Algae feeds krill. Krill feeds the largest animal on Earth. In Lake Vostok, the heat source acts like the sun. It could support a creature called brine shrimp. Brine shrimp survive by absorbing chemicals from the hydrothermal fluid. They reproduce incredibly fast, a new generation every 9 days, and they can reproduce asexually. So picture this: brine shrimp thriving near the heat source, multiplying endlessly, feeding something larger, something like an Antarctic deep-sea predator. Has any of this been confirmed? Here's where it gets really interesting. In the 1960s, Soviet scientists first discovered Lake Vostok. They did not even need to drill. Satellite images made it obvious. Antarctic ice behaves like frozen meat in a freezer. No matter how thick the ice is, the surface reflects what is underneath: rocks, mountains, or a flat lake. The smooth patch of ice at Vostok stood out immediately. Clearly, something liquid was underneath. The Soviets built Vostok Station right on top of it and started drilling. Vostok became the focal point of a decades-long effort to reach the hidden water. In the 1970s, they reached 952 meters. In the 1980s, they reached 2,202 meters. In 1996, they upgraded the drill and reached 3,623 meters. At this depth, they hit accretion ice, ice that had not fully frozen, still semi-liquid. Inside the accretion ice, they found ancient bacterial DNA. In 1999, they drilled another 100 meters to just a few dozen meters from the lake's surface. Then they stopped. The Russian scientists halted the drilling. They poured 60 tons of kerosene into the borehole to prevent it from freezing and sealed the entire thing shut. Did they find something? Were they afraid of releasing ancient pathogens? Later, the Russian team said they were worried about contamination. Microbes on the drill bit could corrupt the pristine ecosystem below. They wanted to develop a new type of anti-contamination thermal drill before breaking through the final 50 meters. They predicted the lake water was saturated with dissolved oxygen under extreme pressure like a shaken bottle of soda. The moment they broke through, the water would blast upward like a geyser. They spent over a decade developing a solution. Then, in 2012, right around the days the world was supposed to end, the Russian team restarted the drill. They punched through those final meters. And the accident happened anyway. The drill broke through and the pressure blasted lake water hundreds of meters up the borehole. The world did not learn about this until 2015. What exactly happened down there, we still do not fully know. The Russian team's report said this: the lake water contained 3,507 gene sequences. 94% were bacterial. 6% were eukaryotic, complex organisms. The genetic data confirmed a complex biological web inside Lake Vostok. Bacteria, fungi, protists, and more complex soft-bodied organisms. And among all those DNA sequences, 2 belong to species completely unknown to science. What are those 2 unknown organisms? Nobody knows. Because after that, the Russians permanently sealed the borehole. There are no plans to drill into Lake Vostok again. Beyond the Russian work at Vostok, American and British teams also identified subglacial lakes in Antarctica. The American lake was 800 meters under the ice, small, only 2 meters deep. The British lake was 3,400 meters down, much larger, similar in scale to Vostok. In 2015, the American team drilled into their small lake first. They sent a robotic submersible down. On the lake floor, they found about 20 small fish and 1 bright red shrimp-like creature. This drilling proved something critical. Even after being sealed off for hundreds of thousands of years, these subglacial lakes have independent ecosystems. Life persists. So all those speculations about Lake Vostok might actually be right. A heat source, brine shrimp, a functioning ecosystem, plus the Russian data showing complex, soft-bodied organisms and unknown species. Could a deep-sea giant from 420,000 years ago still be hiding inside Lake Vostok? What's really at the bottom of the ocean? That's the story for today. Thanks for watching. One last thought. They say 20,000 leagues under the sea captured every deep sea fear humans have ever had. But honestly, down there, it's probably just SpongeBob and his family.